Why nobody calls back? Here we go. Tony's Topics. Like, subscribe. Why did they not call you back? You make a phone call to a friend, a family member, a colleague, and they don't call you back. It drives me crazy. I lose my mind when I do that. What about you? Put the comment section below. What do you do when people don't call you back? So, here's why they're not calling you back. Now, it's rude. Don't get me wrong. It drives me nuts because you hear like, "Oh, I'm busy." Yeah, I'm busy too. I own 3 businesses and I got a family. But I'm not saying you have to call me back right away. But within a day, be nice. And it's just like, come on, dude. Especially if you're offering someone to take them out to lunch or you're supposed to meet with them. Family does it too, and it's just so disrespectful. And they're not bad people, but it's just like, dude, when were you going to tell me you couldn't make it? You know what I mean? I find that I'm always having to confirm. Oh, like, you know what? If it's a pattern, then I knock you down from close family or close friend to just an acquaintance or just a family member, but not a, close family. That really is just rude. You know what I mean? Because I know if I was a rich, famous person that you wanted right away within seconds, you would text or call me back. So I'm not saying you got to even call, but hey, maybe text. What does that take you? So here's the reasons why. Number one, low stakes, procrastination, right? Most people are procrastinators. They're like, oh, well, it's not personal. It's just a mental load. So you try to understand, right? People see messages and they mean to reply, but they get distracted, right? They have a lot of other tasks going on and they feel too embarrassed to respond 3 days later because they know that they missed their window. So they just don't respond, which is rude. Also, mismatched communication styles. You might be a caller, but in a world of texters, if you leave a voicemail for someone who has a phone anxiety or really prefers not to talk, then they might avoid returning the call simply. You know what I mean? And then of course they forget with the text. So then you have the lack of call to action. And now this is the one I usually tell people, hey, I need to hear back from you, in whatever, a day, 2 days, or I need to hear back from you, in 3 hours. If I don't hear back from you, then I'm assuming it's a no and I'll move on. I always stipulate that, but the lack of call to action. So if it's the last interaction didn't end with a clear question or a reason to follow up, the other person might assume the conversation really is just a conversation in passing and it's not a natural conclusion. So without the hook, there's no momentum to pull them back in. So I always, if I really want them to come to a lunch or a dinner or a business thing or whatever, I'll be like, hey, dude, it's me, text or call. I'll be like, hey, it's me. I need to know if you're going to come to this lunch or we're going to meet up tomorrow. I need to know, by 3:00 today, and it's like 12:00. So that gives them 3 hours. You know what I mean? Or I need to know by 8:00 tonight. You know what I mean? And so you got to give them the parameters because most people, they don't run sharp like that. They're just like, and again, not that they're bad people, but it's just, you got to, if it's something that's important to you, you got to let them know, hey, look, I need to know by X day, X time or X time. And if I don't hear from you, I'm going to assume you're not able to do it. No hard will. I'm just going to move on. I got other stuff I got to do. Maybe another time. Boom, done. If it means something to them, then you set the parameters. You know what I mean? The availability shadow, it's called. So we often overestimate how much free time others have. So between work, family, digital burnout, many people are, just trying their social lives. If you aren't a high priority, a fire in their life at the moment, then you might get pushed back. Let's be honest. Maybe you're not a priority. Clearly, action speaks more than words, right? Or inaction. So that's cool. I'm not a priority. It's not a priority. Or they might be going through something. I would say look for patterns. You know what I mean? If they blew you off once, but if it's like, hey, this is the 4th time this year you've done it, you know what I mean? Then it's like, you know what? That's cool. We'll just be acquaintances. Or won't be close at all. We'll text maybe once every 5 years. Action. The energy dynamics are important. Sometimes if a person feels like the conversation will be emotionally heavy or require a lot of performance, they'll avoid the callback until they feel they have the social battery to handle it. And again, they should be adults and say, listen, can I call you back maybe later? Give me a couple of days. I'm going through something. Most people don't have the maturity or empathy or emotional quotient, so to speak, to communicate like that. They just rather not even call back or text back. We're again very rude. Just tell me you can't do it or you're not available or you're not right now's not a good time. Fair enough, you know what I mean? But they don't have the maturity level to do it, honestly. And so, You know, so what do you guys think? What do you guys do when someone doesn't call you back? How does it make you feel? I mean, it makes you feel like, like they're being disrespectful. You know what I mean? I know it's not their goal, but yeah, the rule of three. So if you've reached three times, no pressure. It's time to stop chasing. So that's what I say. It's like, I call it the rule of three, rule of four. But yeah, I mean, what do you do? Right. I try to, again, set the parameters, look for patterns, and if they just not call me back or not text me back, or they text me back late, or they're just, whatever, then it's time to move on. You know what I mean? I can't force you. And that's it. The people who matter will always reach back to you in a timely fashion within the day. And if there's an emergency, they'll say, I'm sorry, I can get back to you sooner, whatever. You know what I mean? So that's why people sometimes, oftentimes don't call back or text back. But still, they don't get a pass, though. You know what I mean? It's just to try to understand. And again, they're not evil people. No one's saying don't be friends with them, but maybe you just knock them down to acquaintance level, or you knock them down to, like, Merry Christmas, Happy Birthday level. You know what I mean? So people who are close, and care will make the time. And that's it. So what do you guys think? Put in the comment section below. How do you handle the no caller backers? It's happened to all of us. So like, subscribe, put it in the comment section below. I want to hear from you. How do you handle this? How does it make you feel? Drives me fucking nuts. But anyways, and they're good people, but it often just drives me nuts, especially for business. Okay, what do you think? Comment section below. Okay, Tony's Topics. Bye.